And welcome to the Drip, home of the 150% guarantee, where 100% of the time I'm going to be over 50% right. Every knife has a story. Here at my channel, we try to dive in, get a little piece of that story, whether it be at the beginning, end, middle, you name it, we've got it. Try to have a little bit of fun, a little bit of humor. So if you're not laughing or smiling by the end of this, then, well, I guess one of us is wrong then if I'm not doing my job to make you smile. I'm Scott. I'm going to be your tour guide. I am the captain of this little vessel. It's easy to punch a ticket. You just hit subscribe. Let's dive in to what we're going to look at today. Now, by the title, I'm sure that's probably one thing that kind of got your attention and a reason why you hit play. We're going to take a look at a vintage Microtech. It's going to be from 2000, and this right now is going to be in August. This is August 4th, 2022. And so the knife we're going to look at, we're going to do a direct comparison. I wanted to take a knife that is 22 years old and compare it to a knife that, in essence, is, I think it's about 21 years later, and just kind of see what any of the differences, if any. So let's dive into this. Thank you so much. I do appreciate everybody that's watching. We're really gearing up. We're trying to get to that special number of 500 so I can give away something special. So again, appreciate you taking the time to watch. So let's see. Here is the first thing we're going to look at, guys. A lot of you, I'm sure, are pretty familiar with Microtech and the way that a lot of the more current boxes, I know they've changed a little bit, but this is the box that would have came with the Socom Elite back in the year 2000. Let's take a look at the Socom Elite Auto, clip point blade, bead blast, finish, plain edge. So there we go. Made in the USA. So we'll go ahead and open this. It's kind of a cool looking little box. I like how it's actually, it's durable. Advanced knife technology, you bet you. Let's open this up. All right. So we have where the knife actually came in the case here. Then this was for a lanyard. So we'll go ahead and take this out. I'm just going to leave the lanyard in here. And then we have, that's a sales slip for me purchasing this knife. I bought it from E-Knives. I spend a hell of a lot of money with them. Okay, so this is a pouch, never been used. We'll stick that in there. You have a warranty registration card that came with it. A limited lifetime warranty. Okay, so if you wanted to pause any of that and look at it, you got it. Okay. And then it was kind of cool because inside came instructions with how to tie the lanyard. You could even pause that and it kind of tells you how to do it. So that was kind of neat. I'm not sure. I don't understand on these type of knives why you would have a lanyard down here, because the knife goes in tip down. So it would be down in your pocket. So I guess just so you have a piece of a lanyard, because you wouldn't be using it to pull it out of your pocket or anything. So It just kind of was a little bit perplexing. Okay, so go ahead and close this. But yeah, it's a nice little case. We'll just sit this over here. Now, the first thing that I'd like to do with each one of these, and let's look at the dates. Okay, so this is going to be the more current. This is from December of 21. Serial number there, Socom Elite Auto. This is the vintage one that I'm going to open, and this date is 8 of 2000. There's the serial number 1350 and the information here. So 8 of 2000 and December of 21. So we're looking at a little bit over 21 years difference. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at, let's measure them. I think that the size should be the same. I don't think that that's changed at all. So 4 inches, essentially, a little less cutting edge, but I think that's what the claim to fame is, that they're a 4-inch blade. So we're pretty darn close to that. The handle, right about 5. I mean, we can see it there. Okay, so that's on the vintage one. Let's take a look at, yeah, it's the same, 4 inches right there. And then the handle, yep, it's the same, 5 inches. Okay, so the size is the same on each one of these. Let's go ahead and get a weight on each one of these as well. All right. 4.6. 4.2. So we're just a little bit lighter on the vintage Microtech Socom Elite than we are on the new one. So 4.2, 4.6. I think I know where that weight difference is going to come in. So let's go ahead. Taking a look at both of these, they look very similar. And you would expect that. It's the same knife. It's just a little bit later in time. And so let's just look cosmetically at each one of these. Just have a nice little look here. Okay. The action on both of them, very similar. In fact, if you look on the inside of here, it's going to be the same action which is on a lot of their knives. It's almost like that little plunge lock. So when you push down the button, you see that. And that's the same on both of these knives. So now looking, we'll kind of start here at the end of the knife itself. To me, when I look at this, now first of all, I like the blade better on the older knife. I always have, and that's why I searched and found this one that was a vintage knife. I paid $750 for this knife, the one that was made in 2000. And I wanted it because there were a couple of reasons why, but one of them is the blade geometry. If you can take a look at the top of these and the way they're just a little different. Now I know that this one is going to be a two-tone with your satin, and the older one is a bead blast. But if we look at the top of these, we'll hold them together. Look at that. You see how the geometry is different? So you have a lot thicker point on the newer one before it goes down to the tip at the very top of it. So that geometry on the top is different. And even as I rotate the blades, do you see how the one on the left seems a little bit, it's thinner, but yet at this point, this has more of a swedge on the right. The one that was the more current knife, it has almost like a little swedge at the top of the blade and then really thickens. But this blade, the newer one, it is a little bit heavier. You can tell when it's in your hand. The blade is just a little bit heavier on the newer one. The emblem, the writing, the etching, very similar. The serial numbers on the left. And so all this is very similar. Now, the blade steel is a M390 on the newer one. The older one is 154 CM, which is used in a lot of, I think, Benchmades. But it's a good steel too. I like 154 CM. But that's the thing. I don't think they use 154 anymore in any of their newer knives. But again, just looking at the blade, the shape, the ergos of it, all the way down to the sharpening choil area here. But just looking, I love how this blade, the older one, almost seems thinner, more elongated. I think it looks better in my opinion. I haven't done any like cutting tests or anything. In fact, I'm not even sure how much I'm going to use the older one. Because I'll probably put it back in the package and keep it, but we'll see. I bought this because I want to use it. And in fact, some of my knives, even if they're expensive, I'll use them lightly because I like to get a feel for them. The button here for deployment, the push button, very similar. Now the newer one has a little more texture to it. You can see that on here. The older one just has simple lines going across the button. It's not quite as tactile or doesn't have as much feeling on the button itself, but they are similar in shape and they do feel, when you depress it, they feel the same, essentially the same on them. You do have your pivot here. They're in the same place. You have a little bit larger of a pivot. I'm not sure what these are. I didn't measure them. That's, to me, not important. But I can tell that it's a little bit larger. I think it's, I don't know if T8 could be bigger. I think this is maybe a T6. But regardless, it's a little bigger on the new one. Let's flip it over. Looking at the top of the blade, you see the jimping on the newer one is a little bit deeper, a little heavier, more aggressive. The one on the left, the older model, how thin it is, like the lines. Now, when I put my thumb up here on the top of them both, and I'm gripping the knives, and you can see these in hand, I like the one on the left. I like the one with this type of jimping on the left, on the older model. You can tell by looking at that, you get good texture and really good grip with your thumb. Not that the one on the right's bad, but it feels better on the left. I really like the feel of this texture on the left with the gripping. It's just not quite as kind of sharp on the right. Now, not to where it hurts you, but it just feels different. The jimping on the actual handle, it's the same. The ramp up where your thumb goes, that's the same on each one of these. They both have aluminum handles. Now, what grade of aluminum, I'm not exactly sure on that. But they both have good aluminum, handles. Probably very similar in what they both are. You look at the style, shape of these handles, they're essentially the same handle. Now the newer one has almost like a skate. I don't know if it's like a tape. Now it's kind of squishy on the newer one, but you have a weird kind of like texture, very bumpy. Now on the older one, you have a texture and it's more, it feels a little bit more rubbery, the material here in the inlay. I like the material and the inlay on the older knife better. I love that texture and feel in my hand on both sides. The one on the newer one, it's not bad, but it's just a little more scratchy, like a sandpaper. This one is more like, I guess, a mat that you would stand on in your workshop. So I do like the texture and feel of the older vintage knife better than the newer version that we have. The rest of this pretty much the same. Ergos are the same on the shape of the handle. On the spine of the handle, we do have just a little different. You've got some texturing, patterning on these where they meet together. These are two pieces of aluminum put together in this design. So these kind of look like they would be a little bit of a standoff, but they're actually just part of the handle that's built together. And then you have the flow-through vents on the top. So both very similar. You do have jimping around the back of the handle. That's the same on both. The clips, I'm going to tell you right now, I like the clip. I've got the clipped. I like the clip on the older vintage better, and that's another reason I bought this. I love the holes in the clip. I love the shape and the look of it. I know it's got 3 screws. You could do without that, but overall, I like this clip better. There's no branding on the clip, whereas on the newer one, it says Microtech. And this one just looks a lot more simple to me and more minimalist on the clip. Over here on the pivot, you have a closed design, just nice and smooth. The other one, again, you do have like a Torx that you would be able to adjust this particular one. I believe on automatics, you adjust it on the right though, and on manuals, you adjust it on the left. But, so I do like the clip better on the vintage one. The inside, you pretty much are gonna have just 2 pieces of aluminum. There's no milling on these. The design on the inside, it's gonna be the same function and action. So those are just very similar. That has been unchanged. Now, if we flip it back, another thing I like, there's no glass breaker. Oh my God. Damn. No glass breaker. I love it. You throw this reverse, put your thumb on the top, and it feels great in the hand, and you don't have to worry about a glass breaker. You don't need it. The newer one, yes, you have a little glass breaker, so that's something that's different. The lanyard holes, very similar, although you do have this one on the newer model cut out a little bit inside the handle. The vintage, it's all just nice and part of the handle. There's no cutout. The screws, the body screws, those are very similar. Same location. So if there's anything on here, guys, by looking at what we've talked about, and you guys have seen this with me, give me your opinions. Which one do you think looks better? Did I miss anything? Is there something you saw or you know of that in 20 plus years of design of this particular Microtech Socom Elite Auto, is there something that I didn't catch? Tell me what you like about these. I don't know. Can you carry an auto? Do you like a manual in this particular knife? Give me some feedback. Give me some stuff to chew on. Give me my daily medicine, guys. I love you guys. Let's always remember the pets, remember our vets, the men and women that helped us to gain freedom, and they secure our freedom today. The little furry guys, the unfurry guys, the loved ones that are unconditionally with us, the little pets that are a part of our family, part of our lives. Guys, thank you for being a part of this. Please do me a favor, hit subscribe. We'll keep on churning. I don't, we're not going to get into the whole thing about, I could tell you so much about my opinion of what other people are trying to do or afraid to do or whatever. There is no fear. We go forward. We're going to do it as a team. I'm trying to release content at least 3 times a week. I've got a lot of stuff in store coming up in the future. Love who you are. Look in the mirror and like that person. We got to work on that. Everything begins with a thought. Keep those thoughts positive, no matter how hard it is to do. And until we meet again, be good to yourselves. I'll talk to you soon.